At the dawn of the 20th century, the world believed it was entering an age of progress. Industry boomed, science advanced. Empires ruled. Most of Europe was ruled by kings, all related, all competing. But beneath the surface, tensions were rising. Militarism, nationalism, imperial ambition. Nations raced to build the strongest armies and navies. Europe was divided into alliances promising protection, but guaranteeing disaster. Pride in nation became louder than reason. All it needed was a spark. The spark came from the Balkans, Europe's most unstable region. The heir to Austria-Hungary visited Sarajevo. Security was weak. Tension was high. Among the crowd stood a young nationalist. 2 shots rang out, changing history forever. The Archduke and his wife were dead. The world gasped, then chose sides. Austria-Hungary blamed Serbia. Germany offered unconditional backing. Serbia was given an impossible ultimatum. They accepted nearly all but not enough. Austria-Hungary declared war. Russia rushed to protect Serbia. Germany responded with force. France stood by its ally. Britain hesitated, then entered. Within days, Europe was at war. Young men marched off, expecting glory. They believed the war would be short. Germany launched the Schlieffen Plan. Neutral Belgium was invaded. Civilians paid the price. Britain could not ignore the invasion. France prepared for survival. Both sides dug in. At the Marne, the German advance was stopped. Paris was spared. Bareilles, the war froze into trenches. This was not the war anyone imagined. Rats, mud, disease. Hope survived in letters home. Death came without warning. New weapons changed warfare forever. Gas attacks turned air into a weapon. The war spread beyond Europe. The Ottoman Empire joined the conflict. Battles raged across deserts and seas. Colonies were dragged into a European war. Machine guns mowed down attackers. Tanks were born from necessity. The sky became a battlefield. The sea turned deadly. No sigh could break through. Millions d'd 4 meters of ground. A desperate attempt to open a new front failed. Gallipoli became a graveyard. Women replaced men in factories. Food grew scarce. Governments controlled truth. Even childhood was stolen. Verdun became a symbol of hell. It lasted 10 months. Neither side would yield. The sum followed. One day, 60,000 British casualties. History had never seen slaughter like this. The United States watched uneasy, but distant. Submarine warfare threatened neutrality. Civilians died at sea. By 1916, death had become routine. Survivors carried wounds. No one could see. Medicine struggled to keep pace with destruction. For many, survival meant a lifetime of pain. Shell shock shattered minds. No one understood trauma yet. Some were labeled cowards. The war showed no mercy. Control of the oceans became critical. The greatest naval battle of the war erupted. Britain held control, but victory was unclear. Submarines changed naval warfare forever. For the first time, civilians were targets. War reached into homes. Hunger became a weapon. Innocence faded quickly. Millions from colonies were forced into service. This was no longer a European war. It was a world war. Across the Atlantic, America watched carefully. The United States claimed neutrality, but American industry fueled the Allies. Even in hell, humanity survived. Enemies met between the lines. They shared food, songs, and silence. For one night, the war stopped. Commanders ended the truce. The killing returned. No clear victory. No end in sight. Faith in leaders began to crumble. The world was changing irreversibly, and soon, everything would collapse. By 1917, exhaustion gripped every nation. On the Eastern Front, Russia was collapsing. Hunger sparked anger. The people rose against their rulers. Revolution swept through Russia. The army refused to fight its own people. Tsar fell. A radical voice promised peace, land, and bread. The Bolsheviks took power. Russia abandoned the war. Germany gained territory but lost time. Germany knew the clock was ticking. They turned again to unrestricted submarine warfare. Neutral lives were lost. Anger grew across the Atlantic. Then came a shocking revelation. Germany invited Mexico to attack the United States. Neutrality shattered overnight. America declared war for democracy. The balance of power shifted. An untested army prepared for Europe. General Pershing demanded independence. America crossed an ocean to fight. Industry became a weapon. Women powered the war machine. Every citizen was mobilized. Truth was sacrificed for morale. The war reached new depths of suffering. Men drowned in mud. Progress was measured in inches. Human endurance was pushed beyond limits. Fire became a weapon. Machines replaced men. No place was safe. Even victors questioned the war. Men refused pointless death. Discipline returned, but faith was broken. Germany launched one last offensive. Speed replaced defense. The Allies nearly collapsed. Then America arrived in force. New energy changed the battlefield. The Allies fought as one. Germany began to starve. The people demanded peace. The empire cracked from within. Loyalty faded. Relentless pressure followed. Defeat was inevitable. They asked for peace. In a quiet railway car, history paused. The guns would fall silent. On the 11th hour, the war ended. Joy filled the streets, but the dead could not celebrate. Millions came back, changed forever. An entire continent lay shattered. Over 16 million were dead. The future was uncertain. Leaders met to reshape the world. Peace came at a price. Resentment replaced reconciliation. 4 empires vanished. New nations were born. A generation was lost. War would never be the same. The peace was fragile. The seeds of another war were planted, Te Kamiomi. But the war followed them. Silence replaced gunfire yet. Memories screamed. Bodies were rebuilt. Minds were not. Economies struggled to breathe. An entire generation was missing. Millions never grew old. Families mourned forever. Stone remembered what the world tried to forget. New borders were drawn with fragile ink. Old conflicts found new fuel. Anger replaced hope. Peace punished but did not heal. Those who fought were forgotten. Economic despair spread like disease. War had entered the modern age. Nations studied the lessons. For darker purposes, even peace was shaped by violence. The storm was not over. Extremism fed on fear. The machines never truly stopped. The fallen were honored once a year. Silence spoke louder than words. The survivors carried history. The earth healed. Humanity did not. 16 million voices fell silent. Their sacrifice reshaped the world. World War I was not just a war. It was a warning humanity failed to hear, because the next war was already coming.
When the guns fell silent, the world stood broken. Millions had no homes to return to. Infrastructure lay in ruins. Even the land itself was wounded. For great empires collapsed. The Ottoman Empire disappeared. Austria-Hungary shattered into fragments. Germany lost its Kaiser. Russia transformed forever. New nations were created overnight. Hope briefly filled the air, but borders ignored people. Conflict was built into the peace. A bold idea emerged to prevent future wars. The League of Nations was born. Dialogue replaced gunfire on paper, but unity was fragile. America stayed out. Germany struggled to survive. A fragile democracy replaced the empire. Money became worthless. Savings vanished overnight. Democracy took the blame. Extremism flourished in chaos. Former soldiers felt abandoned. Radical voices offered simple answers. Anger found direction. Armies studied the war carefully. Mechanized warfare evolved. Control of the skies became essential. Some lessons were ignored. Women gained political power. Roles changed forever. The cost of war was visible everywhere. Nations tried to remember. Life seemed to return to normal. The world tried to forget. Leaders promised stability. But weapons were never far away. Colonies demanded respect. Nationalism spread worldwide. The old world order cracked. Many were never found. Closure never came. Life reclaimed death. History whispered a warning. Few listened. Crisis fed resentment. A new generation grew up in the shadow of war. They inherited unresolved hatred. World War I changed warfare forever. It reshaped nations. It reshaped memory. The world rearmed quietly. History prepared to repeat itself. The battlefields fell silent, but never truly slept. Steel remained where lives once stood. The earth tried to forget. The survivors aged, carrying memories alone. Victory came at a lifetime's cost. The next generation learned loss before history. They inherited a fractured world. Industry rebuilt faster than souls. The tools of war quietly returned. Peace brought hardship, not relief. Those who fought were forgotten. Anger searched for answers. Truth became a weapon. Unity was promised. Division delivered. Extremism found fertile ground. Leaders spoke of peace, in whispers. Plans were already changing. Armies prepared once more. Lessons from the last war became blueprints. The past refused to stay buried. Economies adjusted. For conflict. Lines hardened. Suspicion grew. Displacement returned. Families still felt absence. The dead remained present. Mourning became tradition. Grief crossed borders. Every nation remembered differently. But loss was universal. Even innocence echoed violence. War had entered imagination. The future darkened once again. Another storm was forming. Time moved forward, unresolved. Hope remained fragile. Pride returned before wisdom. Preparation replaced reflection. Nationalism burned brighter. The warning signs were ignored. 16 million voices remained silent. But history listened. The war ended, but its shadow grew longer. Peace was temporary, and the world stood unknowingly on the edge again.
The war was over, but its consequences were only beginning. Economies struggled to stabilize. Those who fought were promised gratitude, not jobs. Poverty spread quietly. Leaders spoke of cooperation, but words were not enforcement. The world's first peacekeeper lacked power. Germany remained unstable. Money lost meaning. Dignity vanished with security. Extremism offered certainty. One voice promised restoration and revenge. Anger became loyalty. Violence entered politics. Italy turned toward authoritarianism. Fascism promised national rebirth, then the world economy collapsed. The Great Depression erased hope. Desperation knew no borders. The League protested. Aggression went unanswered. Expansion replaced diplomacy. Germany quietly read treaties were ignored. Humiliation turned into pride. The victors hesitated. No one wanted another war. History's lessons were forgotten. Borders shifted once again. Fear returned to Europe. The world rearmed openly. The peace of 1919 was dead. Resentment had won. Those who survived the First War recognized the signs. They had seen this before. The world divided once more. Preparation replaced prevention. The fuse was lit again. 21 years after the armistice, the world returned to war. The First War made the second inevitable. The cost multiplied. History offered a lesson. Humanity failed to learn. The war that was meant to end all wars only changed how wars were fought. Its influence remains. So does its warning. World War I reshaped the world and left humanity at a crossroads. Progress without wisdom leads to destruction. Memory without action leads to repetition. The scars faded from the land, but not from memory. Millions rest beneath foreign soil. Each name once had a future. Words written before death still speak. They never knew the war would never truly end. The survivors carried history on their bodies. Honor could not erase loss. New generations searched for answers. History tried to warn them. World War I changed how wars were fought. It revealed how cruel humans could become. It changed societies forever. It changed who held power. It reshaped the world map and planted conflicts that still burn. The dead were mourned, but the lessons were often ignored. The promise of never again was broken. The world grew more dangerous. The Echos of 1914 still march today. So do its consequences. Diplomacy remains. Humanity is the only shield. But it is fragile. Remembrance is a responsibility, because forgetting invites repetition. The past is never truly past. It waits. The future still has a choice, one shaped by memory. From darkness came light. From destruction, hope. For years, that changed everything. A price beyond comprehension. A legacy without borders. Every war begins with belief and ends with regret. World War I belongs to all humanity. So does its lesson. We share one world and one responsibility. To remember, to learn, to choose differently. Not just a war. To every generation. The war that changed the world. Only if we let it teach us. Remember, the world rebuilt itself. Again, progress returned faster than memory. Borders shrank. Nations connected. The world searched for better answers. A new global body promised cooperation. Dialogue replaced isolation. Prevention became the goal, but war never disappeared. Technology evolved faster than morality. Battlefields became invisible. The fingerprints of World War I remain. Some lines, once crossed, could not be erased. Humanity tried to limit itself. History passed into classrooms. Stories replaced statistics. Understanding became the defense. Remembrance became global. Different languages, same grief. Loss united humanity. Old dangers still resurface. Truth remains fragile. Peace is never permanent. Civilians still suffer first. Innocence remains the greatest casualty. Compassion fights destruction. Every generation chooses, and every choice has consequences. Sometimes wisdom prevails. History is not only written by leaders. Truth demands courage. So does resistance to violence. Because it began the modern age of war. Because it reshaped global power. Because its dead still speak. World War I belongs to no single nation. It belongs to humanity. It began with confidence, with belief in glory, and ended in silence. The question remains, have we learned? Knowledge offers hope. So does cooperation. So does courage. But forgetting is dangerous. History repeats when ignored. Past and present are connected. From sacrifice comes responsibility. 4 years. One turning point. We share one planet. One history. One chance at wisdom. World War I changed the world. Nature reclaims what humanity once destroyed. Objects endure. Stories remain. Faces of the past merged with the present. The young inherit lessons and warnings. Remembrance is an act of respect. Words written a century ago still speak to us. Honor cannot undo loss, but it can preserve memory. Symbols endure where life has passed. Hope persists even in the shadow of history. From devastation came rebuilding. From chaos, order. From silence, life. Every nation remembers differently, but grief and loss are universal. Each life lost was a world never realized. One grave among millions. represents all the silence left behind. Memory is carried by those who remain. History is taught, but must also be felt. To understand the scale and the cost, to see the past and imagine the future. The lessons of war are never irrelevant. Preparedness is wise, but peace is wiser. Cooperation prevents repetition. Every act of remembrance strengthens hope. Every shared memory unites humanity. They carry stories that refused to be forgotten. Destruction gave way to reconstruction, and death gave way to life. Even the earth heals if humanity chooses to remember. Lives lost remain in stories. Legacies endure through memory. Silence speaks louder than words. Symbols remind us of sacrifice and the cost of forgotten lessons. They drift like memory through time. We honor those who came before. We protect those who followed. We carry their light forward. The war that changed the world claimed a generation and reshaped humanity forever. But memory endures. If we choose to remember, its lesson is simple. Those who cannot remember the past are condemned to repeat it.